This Pitch Breakfast video is brought to you by Spangler and Agins.
All right, first of all, I'd like to thank Packard Place. Thank you to all the hosts, Vic, Juan, Jim. Thank you to our panelists too. We are LoadSpark. I am the co-founder along with my buddy Matt. He was moving around somewhere right there in front. There we go. So LoadSpark is the easiest way for businesses to take control of their online reviews. How many of you all have seen an online review with a rating like this, maybe looking for a restaurant or a place to shop? All right, exactly. Now, what we've observed is that as of 2017, millennials will become the biggest spenders in the US, outpacing the baby boomers. Given how tech savvy they are, they do trust online reviews more than word of mouth. Now, in 2011, Harvard did a study trying to quantify what they called the Yelp effect, and the key finding was that a one-star increase in Yelp rating leads to a 5 to 9% increase in revenue for small businesses. Businesses have taken notice of this trend, and spending has tripled in the B2B reputation marketing industry in the past 4 years to $5 billion. Realizing that really the core of a business's reputation is in the online reviews, we built an app to help them manage that. So LoadSpark is built to combine customer feedback with marketing. It all starts with a single question. How likely are you to recommend us to a friend on a scale of 0 to 10? Anything 8 and below, and that customer is taken to a private feedback form where they can vent to the business owner before they leave a review. Anything that is a 9 or a 10, and that user is taken to a page where they can then click on listings that will direct them directly to those business profiles, and they can leave an online review. We've combined that with 24-hour review monitoring along with customer experience and feedback analytics, really trying to make sure business owners have all the information they can to ensure they have a great customer experience. We do also support multiple locations from one login. LoadSpark makes money by charging users a per location monthly fee. So a single location would be like a single retail store, a single restaurant, or a single office space. We are also working on a reseller platform where we'll be charging a white labeling fee in addition to the monthly location fees. In terms of going after B2B users, typically they do have longer retention times than B2C. However, you pay for that up front with higher acquisition costs. So we're really working to mitigate that portion. What we are doing is making sure we have the most leverage out of our distribution channels as possible. Now, we do have a free version of the app that includes a referral program. We include powered by LoadSpark links on all the feedback requests that go out from the system. And we're really targeting higher revenue users. So meaning the multiple location businesses like chains and franchises, and also the resellers with existing clients. In terms of where we are today, we have had our first few paying customers. Our first company was a moving company, or our first client was a moving company up in New York. We completed a proof of concept study, just really showing that we do get really high response rates to our surveys. We can capture negative reviews, and we can also help generate the positive reviews the businesses are really looking for. And then within the last 2 weeks, we just launched a chain pilot program with Fuel Pizza here in town, as well as launching that free version of the app. To date, over the past about 12 days, we've acquired 30 free users on that version. Now, previous milestones. I actually started this project back in June of 2014. We released the first version of the app in January of this year with several follow-up releases. During that time, I interviewed 50-plus business owners and agency owners, making sure we did have our first paying users and really trying to iterate to the right product market fit. However, I realized that it was just too much. It was a solo project at that point, and so Matt and I teamed up a few months ago. Now, between Matt and I, we have over 20 years of experience owning and running businesses in the tech and marketing space, so we understand the clients. And our core advisor is CTO of the commerce platform out at Science Inc., which is a startup incubator in California. He works alongside really notable startups like Dollar Shave Club, Prize Candle, Dog Vacay, and Wealthfront. Our target investment is $380,000, of which we have about $100,000 scheduled to go to product development, $200,000 going into the marketing. So we really believe that with the right stakeholders involved, a great product, a little more development, and a good marketing budget, we can make this a huge success for everybody involved. That is LoadSpark, and I would like to open it up to questions.
Eric, I'll start. So lots of pieces in your presentation that I liked, because I think you had all the component parts that an investor looks for. So good. The explanation slide you did very early on was good because it was succinct, it was clear. I like the fact that you when you're doing presentations, particularly to investors, again, you got to take out a blunt instrument. I like the fact that you actually had a reasonable amount of white space or blue space, depending on the slide.
Thank you.
I would avoid the blue, but the not having too much on the slide is actually good. I think that you explained kind of your go-to-market, in terms of your revenue model and so forth. The one piece that I thought was missing on this, and just so that I know a little bit about this, because back, God, I'm going to date myself here. So a decade and a half ago, I actually led an A round in a company called Deal Time, which became Shopping.com. So they were kind of right in this rating space, if you will. That's what they morphed into. And the piece that I was missing on this is, how do you actually get the, not your business users, but your end consumer or your rater to actually use the product, right? Because if I'm going to go, and honestly, I'll do some ratings on Amazon and places like that. Restaurants, only if they kind of tick me off. I'm much more probably somebody that's going to do a negative rating, and then I'm going to go directly to that app, right, to Yelp or someplace. How do you? That was the piece that I was missing as a potential investor here. Was how do you actually get adoption at the consumer level, right, the customer level?
So right now we have two ways active. You can upload your email list and then just send out the survey directly from our app. We are working on an API, so you can just do a direct import, say like from MailChimp, if businesses have an email list there. For Fuel, they really don't have an email list, so what we've done is we printed up feedback cards as well as table tents, and then we'll be actually distributing those next week.
Okay. So. And any early results in terms of what kind of adoption rates you get out of consumers when you do that?
We haven't done the printed version yet. On the email version, that moving company, they had a 25% response rate. Okay. So your industry average to typical customer satisfaction is 5 to 15%, depending on how you really do it.
25% of what? Sorry, what was the 25%?
25%. It was 25.4% response rate of all the surveys sent out to the email list he had. So one of the things we do want to integrate is really optimizing that process, because that was just a single blast. Right now we don't have a follow-up mechanism. We want to be able to track the responses and send out an additional reminder as well.
And a couple more points, and I'll hand it off to Mark. So the team, you did have your team slide, but you really didn't spend much time on it. And again, from my point of view, it's sort of like real estate, location. For an investor in a startup, it's management, and you spent maybe 30 seconds on that slide. So I would spend a lot more time talking about the team and why it's relevant to the success of the company. And then you used one of my words that's not allowed in a startup investor pitch. And you just need to cleanse your brain of this word. You called it a project, right? You called what you were doing a project, and that makes me think it's not real. Gotcha. So, and I can't tell you how many startup people, especially if they're technically inclined, refer to what they're doing as a project, and there's nothing that an investor wants to hear less than it's a project.
Yeah, no, I do this 7 days a week, so it's definitely not a project.
Mark?
Yeah, very cool idea. Like I was just talking about this issue with Feedbackify on a publishing site. So initially, I wasn't sure if this was the digital push, meaning like a Feedbackify integration or plugin that just kind of sits there. Like I'm at Fuel's website looking for information, so you refer to the app a lot up front, and I was like, okay, what's the app? What is that? Like, who's using the app? So maybe some more specificity around. Hey, in the Fuel Pizza example or in the moving company example, here's the primary user on the business side of the app. Like I'm actually a co-founder and owner of a restaurant. We actually do a lot of work. We've hired a person to do social media and what we call audience and customer engagement, right?
Yeah.
We're trying to build a loyal nation of followers and audience / customers. So what you're saying is resonating. Taking it one step further would have totally nailed it for me on like, here's the user in the Fuel Pizza example. The user is the head of social media or the head of whatever, customer development, and he or she can manage these conversations or these interactions like this. Talk about the APIs with MailChimp, or talk about how you're integrating with lists. There's just, I would have like had a lot more, there would have been a lot more substance to it for me.
So more of a use case.
If you had just shown me really quickly, right?
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of customer loyalty apps that are going to the smartphone in the restaurant space. It's very confusing right now, I think, in the industry. So, you know, in the more elaborate, like longer investor pitch, the hour pitch, I think if I were to go a level deeper here, which I definitely would want to after hearing your 5 minutes, I'd want to know, like, okay, so where are you in that? How do you guys see yourselves playing there? Because it's a crowded space. Like we receive information like every month from another person, another company going from, you know, punch cards to digital, right? And how is that impacting what you're talking about, which is ratings. And then the other area that, you know, I would ask about, not in this 5-minute format, but in a longer format, would be if I'm a 9 to 10 net promoter score, which I thought was really cool there, and you're kind of triaging that user into a different workflow. Like what else, other than a rating, a star rating system, like what else could happen there? A social push, some kind of other, you know, interaction that might be easier, or more one-to-many, you know, whether it's pushing to Facebook, pushing to Twitter. I'm sure you guys have thought about all these things, but
yeah, we have a lot of stuff on
I'm
the
sure you do,
roadmap
yeah.
for that.
But anyway, it's really, really awesome idea. My only feedback that would be like what to fill in here would have been the use case, to really talk about what the B2B user is doing with it. And then like when you said, oh, Fuel's already had 33 users or customers, like what is that? Is that 33 people who ate pizza and want to talk about the pizza?
That was our free version. We
Yeah.
launched it a couple weeks ago, and we have 30 businesses using
businesses.
it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that was again like it gets the, you're talking about customers and users.
Work
so-
on the vocabulary.
Yeah, getting a little more precise or sharp on definitions. But yeah, otherwise, really cool idea, or cool product, I should say.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, and Eric, one thing that I failed to mention, so there's some interesting resources down the street at Johnson & Wales that you might want to tap into with what you're doing there as well.
Great
so
idea.
I can help.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Any from the audience? Thoughts, questions?
Can I ask a question of the panel? For this budget, does that make sense to you? Would it make sense for them to ask for more money to add staff? Does that work for you?
We are a little early, so we are looking for feedback on that number too. That's good.
I was. It impressed me. You had such a specific amount. I don't, because you 380K. If I wrote it down correctly, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, which is a very highly specific number. You know, honestly, it's going to be just as easy to raise $500,000 than it would 380, and so I might have just made it a rounder number. But I did like the very specific uses of funds. So. Yeah. So, yeah. Did that answer your question?
I think so.
I think it's appropriate for this or where the stage of where
Right.
you're at. I think it's appropriate. It is kind of funny to see like 204 for marketing. It's just
Right.
like, okay, is that what came out of the spreadsheet? You guys,
all kinds of.
Yeah, yeah.
That was my
exactly.
MBA talking.
I've been there, yeah. So I have the same thing. I would say you can round up, or round off. It doesn't turn me off, but it's like I think that's appropriate for today where you're at.
Yes.
Sorry, what's the story behind LoadSpark and how did you come up with the name? That's one thing I've noticed, that there wasn't really a story woven between it.
I love that question. The domain name was available.
I love it. That's an honest answer.
We do have a couple other domain names, and this is one of the things that Matt has brought to the table. He brought Fuel, and you know he's really good with the user experience and branding stuff. So we do have some other names we're tossing around.
Thank you.
Do you just pass the customer data on to the company? Is there any sort of analytics to look for trends? So if price my market is too high, is that something that will show up in the data so that I can make the correction in my business?
Yeah. So again, the reason we're looking for funding here, a lot of the analytics is a pretty good portion of that. Because, you know, we're going to have these text feedback in this whole database of text reviews, right? And so we want to be able to mine that, look for, you know, really important keywords. Like if poor service is one that keeps on coming up in a restaurant, that's something you really need to look at as the business owner. You know, so that's on the roadmap. We just don't have it today. It's, you know, just basic search functions and charts.
Do you have any patents or potential for patents?
As we get into the analytics side, the stuff I was talking about, more the data mining, that's stuff that's more patentable. Right now, you're talking, you know, more workflows, customer database management, along with some emailing and, you know, some more advanced functions, but not a lot that we have today is patentable, I wouldn't think.
Thank you, Eric. Eric, well.